Yes, you read the title right, and no, the hype is not fake. The AI-powered workflow that I'm about to show you generated over $700,000 in 3 months for a business that I'm partnered with. And I'm gonna let you copy it. Because most people today view AI as their golden ticket to fame and fortune. But the truth is, unless you're actually building a language model, AI isn't a business. AI alone isn't going to make you rich, and AI alone isn't going to help you change the world. AI multiplies action. It takes an existing skill set or body of knowledge and it amplifies it. If you want to take AI and do something truly meaningful with it, you have to find a way to leverage a skill set or interest that you already have, or you need to be willing to build that underlying skill set. Once you've done that, you can turn it into something amazing with AI. So, learning a tool like N8N or Make.com or Cursor or Replit or any of these tools is only going to take you to the point of having the skill that every other Tom, Dick, or Harry has, right? So in this video, I am going to show you how I took the skill of direct response marketing to run something called an advertorial. So this video is going to be relevant for you if, one, you're interested in what I'm about to show you and you kind of just want to hear about it and you just want to learn about it and see if it's something cool. Two, you run some sort of SaaS business or really any other digital business and you're interested in concrete proven tactics for getting more customers, getting more users profitably. Or number three, you run some sort of AI agency, AI consultancy, and you want to have an awesome, super valuable tool that you can tack on to your services. Now, one last disclaimer before I start. A fair amount of prompts that I use in my day-to-day life and in business situations like this are prompts that I've gotten from other people or that are inspired by what other people have done. And so I will give them credit when we get there. And I highly recommend that you go out and support them. Maybe even follow them if you're interested. Like you should follow me right now. So here's the plan. First things first, I am going to go into my actual analytics account and show you the proof behind these income claims that I have made. Number two, I'm going to take a quick minute to explain the fundamental concepts behind this whole advertorial thing that I'm talking about. Number three, I'm going to demo for you the system end to end so you can see exactly how it works down to getting the actual output. Four, I'm going to then reverse it and show you how each part works, including all of the prompts that I use at each stage. And number five, I'm going to talk about a few little things that I would add on if I wanted to really level this up another notch. So, all that being said, let's get into it. So here we are inside of my analytics account. I'm going to refresh the screen here just so you don't think I did something funky. And so what we are looking at here, this campaign, so we're looking between February of last year and April 30th of last year. 4,400 leads came through the door, which resulted in 136 paying customers at about around 700,000 in revenue. So average lifetime value is around 5K for one of those customers. The ad spend, so what did we need to spend to generate that revenue, was about $125,000. And so you can see just the ad-based return on ad spend, 563%. So what I'll say here, just to be transparent, this specific business during this time period was on about a 30% profit margin, including ad spend. So you're talking about around a little over 200 grand that was actual profit to the business, and then that money naturally gets split amongst a few people, but still pretty impressive number. Now, like I said, this was generated off of something called an advertorial, okay? Now, an advertorial is probably something you've actually seen a fair amount of, but you may not have known that it was actually an ad, and that is kind of where these things play. They really straddle that line between something that feels like native content, but it's actually a kind of think of an undercover ad, basically. So this is an example, again, of what we call direct response marketing, or how do we, as closely as possible, track dollar for dollar how much did I spend, and how many paying customers did that spend generate me? And so there's a few reasons that these things are super powerful and super valuable. Number one, you can sell through education. As you'll see in a second, we are often educating the user about a problem and giving them access or explaining to them a few different solutions to that problem. Advertorials allow us to build an audience over time because we're able to meet people very early on in their buying journey for anything, whether it's an e-com product, a local business, a SaaS solution, an agency, whatever it is. You're going to have a certain amount of people that don't even really know that they have a problem yet, right? Maybe they have a pain in their life, but they haven't associated with that with a specific thing. And so we're able to meet them at that point in their journey, and then we can take them through the entire marketing funnel. So they go from not even really being aware of their problem fully through to understanding the problem and why it happens to them, down to different solutions that they could consider to solve that problem. Within each of those solution categories, what are the different businesses? What are the pros and cons of those different businesses? And so on until they end up buying from somebody. Advertorials, number 3, allow us to deliver our ads much more cost effectively because we're going where other advertisers don't typically like to go. So you can think of it like instead of extracting out of a audience that exists already, we're building our own audience. And so that allows us to advertise more cheaply. And so direct response is important because, well, likes and engagement don't pay your mortgage. So we want to run ads that encourage people to take action. Branding is just a nice icing on the cake, at least until you've scaled and have a very, very large business. So let's actually just look at one or two of these from brands that maybe you guys know, maybe you don't, but should illustrate the point. So one company, and the way I actually found this company was through an advertorial of theirs. So it's a company called Mudwater. They position themselves as an alternative to coffee. I beg to differ, but it is what it is. And so they had this ad, which I went and found, where they're positioning that this is an alternative to brain fog. They're saying like basically destroy your brain fog without coffee, right? It's like, okay, let me see what this company is talking about. So they're saying buy brain fog, get clean energy without a crash, organic mushrooms, get focus, support your immune system, a little product image here, some social proof, right? And as we're like kind of going through this, it's like, yeah, I mean, this one is on their website, but there's not like a clear checkout button anywhere here, right? Like it's like, okay, I can save money, but that's like an offer. There's not like a add to cart. They're talking about what's inside and what the benefits of those things are. Okay, they're again injecting more social proof in here, breaking down like the benefits of this type of solution, again in more detail, talking about the gut health, comparing them to other solutions in the space, right? Not like a traditional sales page. If you were to think of like, hey, I'm going to Kohl's to buy a pair of socks, it's like it's a much different experience, right? Kohl's doesn't do this for their pair of socks. It's an example of an advertorial. Okay, another example over here. Penny Hoarder, their entire business, I'm pretty sure, is advertorials. And so this is an example. If you have more than $1,000 in your checking account, here are 8 money moves, featured image. And then we get into this little advertorial here, right? So a quick little intro. And they're like, what should you do? Again, if you have more than $1,000. Cancel your car insurance. Okay, whatever. And then they're linking out here to companies that they are partnered with. Right? So these are companies that they make money on if you go and buy from them. So it's like, hey, do this. You could click here. You can become a real estate investor for as little as $10. Don't think that's the case, but hey, they got a little section on it here. So you could click out there. And this is going to just take you to one of their partnered offers, right? So this would land me on Fundrise and telling me I can invest in real estate, blah, blah, blah. Telling me all of the different things that I can do. And this is a listicle style. So there's different types of advertorials. This is a listicle style of advertorial. So you should get the point here. I'm not going to belabor the point because the point of this video is to show you the AI piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually just hop over into where the system runs, and I am going to show you what this actually looks like. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the full workflow, and I'm going to speed up and slow down like the video recording at points because certain pieces of this, as you might imagine, they take like a minute or two to process. And so I'm not just going to sit here and let us stare at the screen while that's happening. So we'll fast forward at certain points, but I'm going to stop and explain every point that is actually important. Don't worry if this first section we go through is like not entirely clear, because what we're going to do after this is, one, I'm going to show you all the outputs that we get, but then two, we're going to hop over into make.com and look at each of these nodes individually and how they actually work. And so what I decided to do here, so I am getting ready to launch this for a new business, an AI automation agency. And so I thought that would be like a really good example, kill two birds with one stone, and show you this exact process for like things that I will actually honestly spend money behind. Now let's just say here, we're gonna go and niche our agency down for purposes of this to like real estate investors. So what I could do is I could come in here, and we need to start with our main topic. So I can say AI for real estate investors, okay? Then we have some options in here. I'm not gonna fill out every single column because some of these are like optional ways to kind of improve things or give like a little bit more direction. And so there might be a few that I skip over, but angle allows us to kind of point it in a specific direction. And so I'm gonna put in here, helping to scale operations and lead nurture for real estate wholesalers, right? Just gonna give it a little thing. And then we get to our first thing that we need to do here. So we want to pick our article type first of all, which is a listicle. And then we want to go through and we want to research who this person actually is, right? So every good advertisement starts with your research phase. And so in this phase column that we have, we're going to say, hey, I want to do my research. And then I'm just going to tell this thing to go and run. And so this is going to go out and run. And again, I'm going to show you the prompts that these things are, every stage, what the prompts are. So I'm not going to cover them right this second. I'm going to get to them when we go into Make and start looking at things. So I'm going to fast forward through this until we get our actual avatar output here, and then we can talk about what we have. Okay, so this thing literally just finished. And if we wanted to go look at it now, you can see this avatar description is now a full-fledged solution-aware avatar. So what does this mean? It's a person that's aware of their problem that they have, and they're actively seeking out solutions to that problem, right? You're going to talk to that person a lot differently. And so again, we'll get into the prompt that we're using here to generate this a little bit once we get into the make.com side, but I'm just going to explain to you what we're pulling through here so you understand how it works. So we're pulling basic like demographic stuff, which is what you see a lot when people talk about like knowing your audience. So who they are, like what's their job, how much money do they make, what type of clothes do they wear, type of hobbies do they have, what are their favorite movies, what are their favorite books, what websites do they go to, what social media influencers are they following, okay? And this is all going to be, again, for someone that claims to be interested in real estate investing. Now, after we get past that like basic demographic data of this person, we start getting into the things that really matter a little bit more with this stuff, which is the psychographics, meaning like what are the personality traits of this person? What makes them tick, right? I don't care that they go to Reddit to get their news. It's like, what is the biggest success this person's ever had in their life? What are they like eats at them when they go to bed at night and they can't stop thinking about it because they think they're failing in an aspect of their life? Like, what is that thing that they think they're like? How does that make them feel? What are those different pieces that make up like the psychographic profile of this person? That's what we are looking at. And so we get into that a little bit here, understanding their personality traits. So again, just think in the context of like, we're talking about a real estate investor here. They're driven, they're competitive, they're persuasive, they're analytical, they're skeptical. I know a few real estate investors. This pretty much does describe them, I would say. What values do they hold? Self-reliant, for sure. Financial freedom, that hard work pays off, that their life is basically theirs to make good or bad. Continuous learning, like, maybe. Major life victories, they built a real estate and business from scratch, paid off his first investment property in full. Major failures, partnered with the wrong people, lost a bunch of money. Okay, cool. Then we get into smart market questions. So shout out to Dan Kennedy, for any of you marketing fans out there. Dan Kennedy's smart market diagnostic questions. Again, what keeps them awake at night? Eyes open, staring at the ceiling. What's he saying? What happens if I can't keep finding deals? I'm stuck in the cycle of constantly chasing the next commission. I can tell you, I literally got off a phone call last week with a real estate investor, and this was what they were talking about. They had something like $30,000 or $40,000 per month in overhead They needed deals to keep coming through. And so this is like spot on with that. Spot on. What are they afraid of in life? And so on. Okay. What are the dominant negative emotions that they feel in life? Frustration, overwhelm, doubt. Positive emotions, beliefs they hold about the world. Sales solves all business problem. Wealth isn't about income. It's about passive streams. Most people don't succeed because they don't take action on the right opportunity. What is the lifestyle desire? Anyway, I'm not going to go into all of this in extreme detail. I think I already did that there. So what do we do now? So now we have this like big research component of this avatar, right? And so what we want to do next is we want to go in and we want to topic brainstorm. And so we click topic brainstorm, and then we come back through here and we say run. And again, I'm going to pause until this is complete. And then one last thing I will say, we talk about like human in a loop in an AI driven system. Anything of that avatar description that you didn't like or didn't think fit, you could one, just regenerate it again, or you could like remove stuff out of it so that it isn't taken now into the next stage. But that being said, we'll be back in 1 second. Oh, it already went. I don't even have to go back. So now we run this next exercise, which is the 4 A's exercise. Now this comes from the Ship 30 for 30 guys. I forget both their names. I know Dickie Bush and then Cole something. They have this really great system that, again, I'm going to show you the prompts for it on how you can take an idea, a root idea. So this AI for real estate investors that we had, and just expand that into a lot of other ideas, okay? And so I'm gonna show you how I've combined some of these prompts that we have in order to do this. The way that it breaks down, it's different categories that they break it down into. So you can have actionable types of things, right? Like here's tools that you should use. Here's how is a good way to say it. Analytical, here's a breakdown of a thing. You can have like stories, a bunch of different ways that they break down ideas. But basically what we're going to do now is we're going to go through this and we are going to pick out ideas that we think are good. So we can just start looking through these outputs and reading them. And then like I kind of said earlier, you just want to pick something out that jumps out at you. I kind of like this one, the rise of AI wholesaling, why traditional real estate investors are being left behind. I think that's a good one to move forward with. And so what we do is we copy that, and then we paste that into our actual topics right here. And then we go on again to the next stage of the process. So stage number 2, we're going to say, I want you to go and I want you to create the headline for the article. So again, we select the next stage and then we say, go run this thing. And now a big difference here between a lot of stuff that you see people do is everything's entirely automated. And that's not what we're doing here, right? In this situation, it's like there's a human in the loop at almost every step, but we're using the AI to really scale how we get outputs out of the system and just cycle through ideas very quickly. So that being said, it just popped us out a bunch of headline options. So let's go back and actually look at those options right here. So what these are, again, another shout out is due. Heath Wilcock, I think it's Wilcock, hopefully not Wilcox, who is a copywriter. I think he was the copy chief at ClickFunnels. He has a great course on how to write advertorials. And so I've trained this system on his method for generating headlines. And it has a bunch of examples. Again, I will show you how I use them in the make.com section when we get into that here in a second. But as we go through, now we have a bunch of different headlines that are grouped into different types, right? So we have the what style of headlines, the why style of headlines. We have other types of headlines too down below, but we're just going to pick one out of these top ones here. And so again, we're going to read through these and see like which of these actually sounds interesting for that avatar. Now, I know that this avatar happens to struggle a lot with deals. It's all about sourcing the deal. And so I kind of like this headline right here. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to paste it in right there. Okay. And now I'm just going to go to the next stage. So next stage is create leads. Now, the thing that is really cool here, if you've never used a tool like this, we can actually run all of these at the same time. So if you had like the same avatar, right? Say again, it's your AI automation business, or it's a SaaS company or e-com company, you can run all of this at the same time, meaning you could have 20 rows in this sheet that are processing at the same exact time. So we're obviously doing one example here so I can explain the steps, but this could easily be like a bulk generation type of workflow. So that being said, we got our output here. I'm going to try to scroll down to the leads, and here we go. So now we get 3 different types of leads out of this system. We get a disruptor lead, which is like, hey, here's this counterintuitive thing, kind of what it sounds like, where it's disrupting the industry type of lead. We have the logic lead, which is a logical reason that this thing I'm about to explain to you is the case, right? Why it's true. And then we have other types of leads, again, further down, but we don't need to go through all of these. So I actually just reran that one again because I didn't like either of the angles it was taking. But I do like this one. So what if the real problem isn't finding deals, but how you're looking for them? So this is an interesting one. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to paste it in for our lead section, right? So now that's the lead on our article. We can come through and say, now that we have the lead and we have the headline, we want to create the body. So we can go run the body. And now what you're going to see here, I actually run the body twice. I run the body 2 times. I run it once through ChatGPT and I run it once through Claude. And so you're going to see ChatGPT populate here in body copy, and then revised body, poorly named column because it's not revised, it's just a second body, is going to show up right here. Now, the reason that I do that is you're going to find that certain language models perform better at certain things. So the lead that we had was actually written by ChatGPT. The headline in the 4A's exercise goes through Claude. The body's written by Claude. And the reason I did that is I was experimenting a lot with it. And for whatever reason, based on identical prompts, the leads that I was getting out of Claude were just really bad, to be honest. But they were really strong on ChatGPT, whereas the opposite was true in these other scenarios. So that is why I use what I use. Now we have this body here, and we can come through and we can actually look at it, right? So deal finding on autopilot, how smart property investors are doing, blah, blah, blah. Then we have our lead that it wrote for us, which ended right here. And now it gets into our listicle, right? Because we told it that this is a listicle. So what's number 1? Stop chasing every lead. Most investors waste a lot of time on deals that go nowhere, blah, 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 blah. AI doesn't get tired or miss details at 11 p.m. after a long day. It's true. This isn't science fiction, blah, 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 right? And so it's going through and it is writing us a entire article, 5 different items. So pretty awesome. Now the last 2 little stages that I have here, number 1 is going to be to finalize it. And what that means is it is going to just take all the different pieces we have and shove them together. And then once that's done, we can come back here and we can actually look at it. And now it's nicely formatted for us in Markdown. And it has links out to our website, which is pretty cool. So that being said, I'm going to actually go in now to make.com. I'm going to show you how each of these pieces actually works. But a little subject matter expertise first for the uninitiated. Typically when we write especially an advertorial, there's a few different pieces. You have your hook. How are you going to hook somebody in? In an advertorial, this is done pretty well through the headline. Then you're going to have a lead. So how do you make a transition from the hook and get somebody really jazzed up to want to read this article? That's the lead. Then you have your body copy and your conclusion, which is where you're going to make your main arguments, get them to think the thing you want them to think, and then ideally send them out to wherever you have your call to action. So why is this so important for any business, really? Copywriting is a very high impact skill set, right? It's salesmanship multiplied through marketing. But it requires really 2 things. You need to be able to take your product, match it to an audience, what they need, what they desire, and generate really engaging, curiosity-inducing content or copy around that topic. And you need to have the technical skill of translating that idea into a written format that people will engage with. So you need to be able to generate really interesting ideas, and you need to be able to write them in an effective way that gets people to take action. And so what's amazing about AI is we have the benefit of decades and decades and decades, think all the way back to the Mad Men era of copywriting that's been done very well. Again, decades of experience, examples, frameworks, successes, failures. We got tons and tons and tons of stuff that we know works. And so we can take the principles and the tactics of our favorite copywriters and apply them instantly to any business. So for example, we can take the 4A framework for creating viral content ideas, and we can apply it to these systems that we have for how to generate advertorials, or even how to write copy well. How should you structure sentences? What should you say? How do you make someone feel a pain? How do you make someone feel a pleasure based on the words you're writing? And then we give examples of this being done very, very well at the highest level. And when we can do that decently well, not even saying expert level, but decently well, then we get into these situations where we're making, again, over a 3-month period, a significant amount of money for our business. So that being said, let's hop back into our make.com and let's actually show what all of this looks like. Okay, so here we are inside of Make, and as we can see, we have this little router here. This branches off into the different workflows. So for example, when we were inside of here and we were selecting in that drop down saying phase is like create headlines, do the avatar research, do whatever, that is here, that's routing it. So it's determining where it's going to go. So for example, up here with the avatar research, we just have a filter saying, hey, if the phase is avatar research, go down this path. So we're basically using that to just control the system and where it decides to go. So now we can go up here and look at our avatar research. We can click in and look at the node. You're a talented A-list copywriter performing research for an advertorial. And an advertorial is an article that blends natively into its environment and builds trust by educating. Right? So we're just telling it kind of what it is, what it's about to do. And then we have our actual prompt here. So I want you to give me 5 customer avatars for this service that we have. The avatars are based off of the stages of market awareness as taught by Eugene Schwartz in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. So short little aside, Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising, he's kind of like one of the godfathers of modern day direct response advertising. And he breaks down this concept of different stages of market awareness and how you need to speak to people depending on the stage that they are in. So here's the stages, right? Unaware, problem aware, solution aware. We talked about that earlier. Here's the audience, right? So it is, and anywhere you see this blue kind of thing, by the way, it's pulling in from the sheet that we have. So the audience is, real estate investors with their problem being generating deal flow is very difficult for them. Here's the price point of the offer, how much it sells for, right? Because if we're trying to build out an avatar of someone that can afford that service, we need to tell it how much the service is. And then we give it our format, right? So you remember all this from the sheet that we had, their demographics, the Dan Kennedy questions, psychographics, going deep, purchasing habits, purchasing triggers, their wants, their empathy map, like all of this type of stuff goes in there, and out plops a avatar research like we had up here. Boom. So out plops this avatar research doc. Okay. So now what we did in the sheet was we went through, we said, cool, now I want to brainstorm those 4 A's, right? I want to take that idea of AI for real estate investors and I want to just come up with interesting angles, right? What are things I could say to that person? And so that is what we are doing here. We're using Claude because I found that it gets the best responses out of this. And again, we're telling it, you're an endless idea generation machine. There are 4 types of ideas we can create: actionable, analytical, aspirational, anthropological. And then here are examples of each of those basically. So if it's actionable, you give them tips, you can give them tools, you give them hacks, you give them advice, you give them frameworks, you give them guides, right? If it's analytical, it could be here's some trends, here's some numbers, here's some reasons why this is the case. Here's some examples, here's a teardown, here's a swipe file. So we go through, we just give it all of the different ways that we would consider writing something, and then we tell it, I am going to tell you now who this is for, what they desire in life, and we like to try to go existential here, like what do these people existentially desire? And we're going to have you generate one idea for each of those categories above. We're also going to give the topic, and then you're going to generate something for each of the categories above, okay? And now I put this in here because I found that I was not getting outputs that I was happy with all the time, where I don't want it to repeat back to me what this person's job is, right? If the person that was the avatar had a job as a marketing manager, I don't want it to be like, here's things marketing managers need to know. Like that's not what I want out of this. I don't want it to say something like, if it found that one of their books or one of their favorite influencers was Alex Hormozi, I don't want it repeating back to me or writing in the copy like, here's 5 things Alex Hormozi might say to you. Like, you can, maybe you could test that, but like, I don't want that in this style of thing that we're doing. So that is why I have this prompt in here that basically just says that, right? Like if I were to give you, if I'm writing an advertorial and the person says they're a marketing manager and you give me a headline saying why marketing managers are flocking to this hidden business models, like that's not what I want. And then the last thing we do is we come through here like we promised it we would, and we say, here's the topic, right? Again, all pulling from the sheet. Here's the topic. Here's the avatar, that really long research doc that we pulled. Here's their rootmost desire in life. Okay, and again, you want to go reptilian on this stuff. What do they really desire deep down inside? What's that kind of thing that they almost probably wouldn't even tell to anybody, and they probably don't even know it themselves, but it really drives everything that they do? What is that really deep desire they have? And then any specific user direction that you want to give to the article. So like, hey, I want it to be written in this way or that way. Okay. So that's our topic brainstorm. After we have that output, right? Remember, we went in and we told it, okay, here is the actual topic we're going to use. Actual topic, right? So we're pasting that in, and then we're saying, go to the next stage. So then we move on from there and we can say, hey, we want to create our headline. And so we have a pretty similar prompt, just a few different pieces we added in so that it can handle this next stage adequately. So this prompt is the same. But then we have this option for like, if there's anything like really critical about this process that you think the system needs to know, you can tell it right here. So critical notes. And again, this pulls from the sheet. And then it's also critical to understand this is a listicle, right? In this case, listicle. So what's the type of article? And then again, we have an assistant that just tells it like, hey, don't take the avatar. So you look at the avatar and you look at their desire, but like you don't pull a literal point out of that. Right? You don't pull the literal, you don't say, if we said that their desire was to feel wanted in life, you don't make a headline that says, are you tired of not feeling wanted? Right? That's not what we're trying to do. We want it to use this information to understand who this person is on a deep level and then right through that lens. And so we're just telling them that there. So you understand the psychographics of the person, but you don't use it too literally. We give another example of that. Okay. We say you take the avatar and their desires and use those to understand them on a deeper level. Then we give some examples of good headlines. Okay, so we're just prompting it with examples of headlines from our sheet. We have them in a cell over here. Headline examples, and we do it for leads too. So we just have examples in there that it pulls through. Make sure to follow them closely. Again, don't take the gender or the job too seriously. We're just trying to get it not to like answer like something way too specific. Okay. And then last but not least, we go through and we give it the actual task. So I want you to create me 20 headlines. You have 4 categories. So make 5 in each. So I want 5 of each of these. The what style headline, the why style headline, and the social proof combination headline, where it takes social proof and then adds in a what or adds in a why. And then we give it the details. So here's the article topic. Here's the avatar. Here is the audience. Here is that audience's problem. Again, similar things that we gave earlier, just for this next stage. And then again, we say any critical notes go right here. We run that through and boom, out pops our headline. Then we take that headline, right? We put it into the next stage and we say, now I need you to create me my lead. Okay, so here we are. And again, we're giving similar prompts as we did for the headline section. We're telling them how talented they are. And then saying any critical user notes that like you would want to pass to the system, just to say like, hey, remember this or do that or don't do that or whatever it is, pass it in right there. Then we have an assistant, okay, where we're training examples of good leads. So again, we have that column in the sheet and we're saying, hey, here's all the examples. Make sure you do this, right? Make sure you do this. Make sure you're not too specific about who the person is. And then we say, I want you to create me 3 lead options, okay? You can make a disruptor, a logic lead, and an emotional story lead. I want 1 of each. You could modify this if you want more options. Use the lead examples given earlier in the assistant to guide you. Other critical user notes are here. That's probably redundant because I had it up above, but it is what it is. Article topic right here. Avatar right here. Again, we're just pulling through and telling it all the information that we have. Here's the headline, user notes. Take all this into account and make me a lead. Goes through, boom, we pick out the lead we like. We plug it into the next piece of the sheet. And then we get to that last piece where I was saying we generate the same thing twice. So I'm just going to go into one of these. I like Claude's outputs more. So I am going to look at that one. So here we are inside of Claude. And again, we have some similar prompts as before. Hey, you're a talented copywriter. The things we added on here are output length, because advertorials are not meant to be too long, and the reading level that it needs to write at. So giving it 6th grade as a max. That may sound low, but there's 2 reasons we do that. Number 1, surprisingly, the average American's reading level is something like 5th grade, I think. Kind of crazy. And number 2, it's actually easier for you to read things that are written more simply. And so when you start getting into like how much energy does someone have to invest to read this thing, that is a very, very, very powerful thing. Human beings are hardwired for using calories effectively. And thinking about something burns a lot of calories. So we want to make sure we're not writing stuff that is unnecessarily complicated. Okay, so then we get into our assistant prompt. Again, this comes from Heath Wilcock, where we are telling it how to write a body, right? What are the different questions you want to answer? How does everything need to look? Here's an example of a body copy. Here's how I want you to format your response to me. So it's going to be a listicle. So I want you to give me the list items and so on. And then again, we go through and we give it all of our stuff. So, hey, here's the call to action that you need to use, right? The call to action should be doing this thing. It should be sending them to book a demo, right? Or whatever it is. Here is where it should actually link to. Here are other critical user notes that might be important. Again, topic, description. Here's the actual headline we generated. Here's the lead that the article is going to use. Shouldn't say competing offer. It should be our offer. All right, here's the offer details for this thing. Like here's what they're selling, right? Selling the AI agency services or whatever. Taking all that into account, go write me this body copy. Okay? And then we have how I want it actually structured. So I want it framed as a benefit. So list item framed as a benefit, 1 to 5 sentence explanation, bold emphasis statement of a major pain or benefit, so on and so forth. It goes through, it does that for every single list item that we have. And then we have that last little finalizer script where it just takes those 3 different sections and merges them together and outputs to us our end result. So a few things that we could do to make this even better. So like I mentioned in my other videos on AI agents, one of the patterns that we could apply to this is an evaluator optimizer. So for example, when it goes and writes the lead, we could have an AI system like Claude or ChatGPT or anything else really evaluate the lead that got written based on parameters. So we could, for example, train it on really good leads and say, when you analyze a lead needs to be, engaging. It needs to have a unique perspective or a unique idea. Or you give it all of our parameters of what we would say, this is a good lead. These are things to watch out for. And then we could have it bounce back and forth, evaluating itself and giving itself feedback. And we could do that maybe 3 to 5 times until it develops for us a very strong output. Okay, so that's one major improvement. Another improvement which we have down here are our copy chiefing exercises. So if you're an actual copywriter, or if you wanted to be, there are different things that you can do in order to make your copy that you just wrote even stronger. What are examples of that? Dimensionalizing a benefit or a pain. What does that mean? Instead of just saying what a benefit is, right? So you have features and then you have benefits. Well, a dimensionalized benefit is putting the benefit in the context of the person's actual life. So if this was a fitness offer, instead of it saying, for example, hey, we're going to help you lose 20 pounds in 30 days so that you feel great, it's a story, right? Imagine being the first person to take your shirt off at the pool this summer, right? Implies the same benefit, but is dimensionalized, okay? So dimensionalized pains, proof points, right? So going through and saying, like, hey, where can we actually pull in proof on this thing? Maybe on this node down here that we have, we could send it out to go do perplexity research to find sources to actually back the things we just wrote. That would be a really cool thing that we could do there. We could, again, have systems up here in our headline and our lead, maybe in our headline, that it generates a bunch of different iterations. So maybe we said that we loved headline number 5 that it came up with. And then it's like, okay, well now I want you to double down on that. Come up with 10 different angles on that. And then we can split test those types of things. So that will be a really cool one. We could even have it output the Google ad copy or the Facebook ad copy, right? We could say, I need a long Google ad description, maximum of 90 characters based on this article, right? And then we give it our article and it goes through and it actually writes all of the Google ad copy for us. So a lot of really awesome stuff that you can do with this. But again, this system alone right here, looks like an L, is responsible for generating a lot of money. And so it's something that you should consider. And if you do actually want access to this blueprint or this make.com scenario, happy to give it out to you guys. So like I said earlier, guys, AI is super cool, but you need to apply some sort of domain expertise to it if you want to do really awesome shit. Just trying to use AI by itself would kind of be like getting dropped into like a video game with like all the dopest gear and you got a fully ranked character and you got all the end game loot, and then they drop you in and it's like, but they didn't spawn in any enemies or any NPCs and it's just you, just kind of standing there. Kind of useless to have superpowers when you don't have any way to exercise them. So as you go out into the world and think about applying these types of things, you should really think about like apply it to what and how do I apply it? And how does that align with the vision that you have for yourself? Now, I'm not here to say that you won't make short-term money just learning N8N and taking some template that another guy made and going selling it to another person. But I am going to say that you are eventually going to find yourself increasingly so up to bat against people that really know what they're doing and have the domain experience. So that is all for this video. Drop a comment below and let me know what other type of stuff you'd like to see built out.